points about the people who are caught in natural disasters. In this story, we are going to learn about a young man, Prashant, who was caught in a cyclone on 27 October 1999. Prashant had gone to his friend's house on 27 October 1999 to spend a day. And what happened in the evening, dark clouds gathered and wind started blowing at very high speed, and it also started raining. The nature was causing great havoc. Soon the water level began to rise. The houses were swept away. People were swept away. And Prashant's friend's house survived because it was made up of brick and mortar. Later on, the water level had risen to the neck level, and that's why Prashant and his friend's family has taken shelter on the roof of the house. In the midnight, the coconut tree uprooted and collapsed on the roof of the house. The roof of the house was totally damaged and walls were also damaged. And continuously it rained and winds were blowing, and for 2 days Prashant sat huddled on the roof of the house without food and without food and shelter, and in the cold. Later on the third day, Prashant decided to go to his village because he was worried about his family, because just 7 years ago his mother had died, and once again he did not want to become bereaved, so he was worried. He began his journey through the flood water. He began to see the carcasses of animals, cattle, goats and dogs. Their carcasses were floating on the water. He also saw human corpses. Men, women and children were being carried away on the water, swept away on the water. The scenes were so macabre and very difficult to see. At last he reached to his village. He saw that all the 96 houses had been swept away. More than 80 people of his village died in this super cyclone. And what more, he went to see his family members in the Red Cross shelter. There he saw them and he was happy. For 4 days, there was no food to eat for the people of the shelter. There were about 2,500 people who were survived in this cyclone. So Prashant and other people, they made a delegation and sent the delegation to the merchant's house, so that the merchant was to be pressurized to give the rice to the people. So at last they succeeded, and they brought rice and cooked the food. In the last 4 days, they ate the first meals. After that, the children were orphaned. So Prashant had deputed women and widows to look after the orphans. He has created a polythene shelter for the orphans. Later on, he also told young task force to clean the shelter of filth and vomit and carcasses. And later on, he decided to make foster family. Means earlier the government decided to start institutions for orphans and But Prashant did not like that idea, and because he thought if these kind of institutions were started, then children would grow up without love and care. That's why the childless widows and the orphan children, they will form the foster family so that children will get love and widows will get the company of children. And the widows were starting to feel deep grief. That's why Prashant has decided to organize Food for Work program, and he told the women to join this program. He also started some cricket matches for the children. Later on, helicopters also began to come and drop food packets for these shelter. Once the helicopter came, but it did not come after that, then the children were deputed to lie down on the ground and with empty utensils on their stomach to give a message that they were hungry. Later on, the helicopters began regular rounds to the shelter and began to drop food packets and other required things. In this way, we can learn that Prashant, a young man, is set in as a leader of this village, and he has shown great management skill, and he did the most required, what was required at that time. He managed the orphans and widows and gave them support and love, and at last he was able to settle all those people. Even after 6 months of this crisis, of this disaster, even today children and women find solace and support in the youthful and handsome face of Prashant.